This week we touched upon project financing, recoupment structures, and quality versus feasibility budget considerations. Let's sum up the main points. During this week we touched upon creating a feasible budget and what that entails. The main focus we need to have when we put together a budget for any project, film or television, is that we can put a budget together that's based on our script, of course. We break the script down, we do our shooting schedule, and that's all great. But we have to run the numbers. We have to run the international sales numbers to see if we're off. And if we're off, we have to work backwards. We have to adjust our budget to either lower it. Well, usually it's lowering it, not hiring it. But we need to make sure that our budget is feasible. And feasible means that 70 to 75% of our budget can be covered through sales estimates that we're projecting on the take level. That's the essential item in order to greenlight anything. Now, pre-sales will support the market validity of a project, and they can vary, of course. They vary sometimes in a way that there's not that many pre-sales possible, depending on the project, depending on the market, depending on the economy, or you are lucky and you can do more pre-sales. The one thing one needs to be really wary about is if no pre-sales are possible at all, that indicates that the project does not have any demand in the marketplace. It basically indicates no one wants it. And it's very important to remember that that's not a good thing, because making a movie without getting any feedback from the market is very dangerous. Buyers do know that when you made the movie that you have to sell the movie, and they are often lowball you with pricing because they know you have to sell it now because you just made it. It is not always it's not always an advantage to make the movie and think, oh, if I make it, then the pricing level is going to be higher because now everyone wants it. That's usually not the case. It's often the other way around. So it is good to create some kind of buzz, create some kind of want for the project, and get a little bit of buzz going so that you have the interest from the marketplace. Now, when we talk about the relationship between the marketplace and the budget, we're really talking about sales estimates and pre-sales in relation to your budget, and you adjust it best you can. You adjust it in talking to the bond company, but they will allow you to lower. You adjust it with your script. Maybe you cut pages, maybe you reduce your team, maybe you do a different deal with your cast, whatever it takes you do to lower it. You can get inventive and you can get creative. As long as you don't change the genre and you don't change the quality of the film, that's very important. Because when you do pre-sales, buyers bought the script based on the script, meaning what it is. So if you change a lot, you're changing the script materially, then those sales agreements could potentially not be valid anymore. So you have to be very careful in balancing this out early enough, and therefore matching your budget early enough with the marketplace. And when we talk about recoupment structuring, what that means is your waterfall. Your waterfall has a ranking that basically indicates who gets paid what when. You know, we'll get into that on a different slide. But in general, all the waterfall is, or all the recoupment is a structure where one entity gets paid after the other and positioning occurs. Collection agents manage that waterfall because they are responsible to manage all the revenues from any source, distribution, merchandising, whatever you have, and then make sure that everyone gets paid back. The banks, the investors, that the sales agents get their sales agency fee, that producers get deferments, or whoever gets what they get. And even profit participations, they manage all of that. And they send out profit statements and CAMA reports, collection agent management agreement reports, that are regularly sent out to everyone involved, where you can see exactly where you're standing right now in the waterfall, in the recoupment position. You can see how much money still needs to be made for someone to get paid back, or how much they already gotten back. These reports show everything in detail. And that's why the profitability is really connected to working with the waterfall and working with collection agents to create a sense of transparency and for you a sense of controlling what's going on with your movie at any given time.
We already talked about the feasibility component as it relates to budgeting, but we also have to kind of address the fact that the quality is important too. So when you are facing the situation that you have put together a budget and the sales estimates are too low, you will have to make a decision what you're going to do. And the options that you have is you could increase the cost level, which would automatically increase the value of your project, or you could reduce the budget by changing maybe certain script elements. You should also be very careful about how you're changing your production cost if you're decreasing them, not to affect the production quality and the look of your film. You are looking at the various fees in your budget, and you want to make sure that they stay either within the industry standard frames or lower. So it's really important that you take a very close look at each and every line item, make sure it stays within standards. When you put your budget together, you look at a few considerations. You are obviously trying to adhere to customary fees for the team, cast, producers, distributors, the rights, the post-production, etc. You might be bound to certain rates because you are doing a guild picture or guild project where IATSE rates or other guild rates are applicable and you have to adhere to them. There might also be a situation where the completion bond requires you to have a certain level of budget, and you're going to have to figure out how you agree with the completion bond on the budget that they want in order to make sure that their insurance is not going to be applicable and their risk is going to be kept low. You are scheduling, your prep, your principal photography and your post in a way that is adhering to the funds available for each of the periods. And you can, if you see that you are, still too high in your budget, think about deferring certain fees. You can have conversations with cast, director, or team members, or anyone really, to see if they would be willing to defer a portion or all of their fee into profits, so that your budget would in essence be lower, so that you can actually do the project, and then the people that agreed to defer their fees would be paid from profits. What would likely happen is that they would ask for a little more because they are, not taking risk, but sometimes it's worth, taking that risk in order for the project to get made. On this page you have a summary about the various fees that could be applicable in your budget. Again, these are ranges and they vary very much with the kind of project that you're doing. So just take a look at this, and when you put your next budget together for your project, this could be maybe a little bit of a reference for you. We talked about the funding component of a project, but as important as the funding component is the recoupment component. And depending on who is investing with you and who is giving you money, depending on who the financier is, they have a different position as it relates to the recoupment of their investment or of their financing. Some of them are actually not recouping at all from you. They might be recouping, but they might recoup from a different area. For example, the tax credit lender who basically cash flows tax credits to you or tax incentives to you, they recoup from the actual local region to pay them back. They don't recoup from you, so you don't pay them back. As it relates to crowdfunding investors, for example, they did a Kickstarter campaign or something like that, they got a t-shirt or a hat or something or a credit, so this is also not an amount you would be recouping because they already got something for the money that they gave you. As it relates to bank, mezzanine, and equity lender, those have to be recouped. In the case of equity and mezzanine, they have to also recoup an additional premium in addition to their principal. Each of these entities recoup in a certain position in the recoupment structure, which is also referred to as the waterfall. The bank will always recoup first, the mezzanine lender will always recoup after the bank, and then the mezzanine lender will recoup their premium. The equity investor comes after the mezzanine lender has recouped, and then the equity will recoup a premium. If you have deferments, then they would recoup after the premium of the equity investor. And after that, everyone would participate in profits at the same time in relation to the profit percentage that was agreed. Gets a little more fancy in the waterfall and recoupment schedule when we have a movie that actually went in the theaters and was theatrically released, because here what you have now is you had to pay a P&A lender, or P&A was paid by someone to create a release campaign, and that money is recouped first from box office revenues, and the P&A lender will likely ask for a premium, which will be recouped as well. So then you imagine the balance of the money going into the collection account, and the next one in line would then be your collection agent. If you are doing the movie as a guild movie and you have, for example, SAG actors in there, residuals would be applicable. They would be recouped next, unless the bank requires to be recouping before the residuals, the guild residuals are recouping. That's sometimes a conversation. The sales agent would be recouping his fee and his distribution cost as well. Again, this could be a conversation with the bank where the bank says, you know what, sales agent, I want to be recouping before you, and you're not getting your sales agent until I am recouped. So the senior loan that's currently in rank 6 could jump up all the way to rank 3 depending on the conversations between the parties. The mezzanine lender would always be recouping in that position number 7 if you have a mezzanine lender, and the premium would be position number 8. The equity comes after the premium, and the premium equity comes after the mezzanine premium, and the equity premium comes after the equity principal. If you have deferments, you will recoup them after your equity was paid back. At the end of it all, you have a profit, and now your back-end profit participations will happen as applicable.
If you haven't done so, please watch the case study video, the guided video, to understand how the case study is structured and what it entails. It is essential for you, not just for the upcoming quiz, which does include a question related to this case study, but it's also important because upcoming finance models and case study will build on this case study and build this out. So it's important that you understand what's happening here. And after you watch the case study and you feel that you're not understanding certain aspects, please send me an email on Canvas, and we can jump on a call or on a Zoom or whatnot, and walk through it together.